If you hear crunching, just know that that's my dog. And that might be also me, because I also have a carrot. We're sharing a carrot together. It's family bonding, you know. But today, I'm going to be talking about, which topic do I want to talk about? Just one second. Okay, wanting to touch on a couple of topics, so that's why I stopped for a second. But I know which one I want to talk about today, and that is how, I don't know if all dragon people feel this way, but for me, as I've been connecting to the dragon, as I've been fascinated by the dragons and fascinated by just deep diving everything that I things I can learn about dragons, the aesthetics of dragons, all of it, the spiritual sides of it, I've also been noticing within me this deep connectivity between the dragon, the princess, and the knight. And how I personally feel like all three of those are within me. And I don't know everything that entails yet. I've just sort of started dipping my toes into the big crunches are so funny. I've just been starting to dip my toes into what that kind of means for me. And that might mean a lot more than this. I might have to make a second video, but does anybody else feel that way? Anybody else who feels connected to the dragon or dragons at this point in their life? Do you feel that connectivity between the three of those? Even if you're a man, I mean, do you feel the connectivity between princess or prince and knight in shining armor? Because I really do. And for me, it's so interesting because I've also been researching and re-researching the red panda, because for me, one of my highest totems is the red panda, and I think it's really cool that the red panda is getting a little bit of a spotlight right now in culture and media. They have been my favorite animal since forever. I love them so much. And now it's sort of transformed into, especially knowing all the spiritual aspects of a red panda, right? It has transformed into this, like, deeper bond with red pandas rather than just, they're the cutest thing ever, you know? But it definitely started out as that, which sometimes totems do start out that way, right? But anyway, but yeah, I've been researching the red panda a little bit more too. And also the tanuki. I've been deep diving on the tanuki as well. I love them. And I've been learning a lot from them. But just last night I was trying to, because I know for a fact that red pandas are a totem of mine. And the tanuki I'm not too sure about, but I'm definitely learning from them, right? But for the red panda, I have just been researching a little bit more about them, and I was trying to look up, like, how does the red panda relate to this dragon, right? Because I also do feel a sense that dragon might be an actual totem for me, one that has been waiting for me to be ready to accept it, because these are traits that I have had over the course of my entire life, but that I have gone back and forth with a lot and suppressed in many ways too. Whereas the red panda, a lot of those traits are traits that I welcome with open arms a lot of the times. Maybe not completely and wholly, but it was easier for me to see that and accept that, I think, rather than the dragon. And how this connects to the princess and knight, right, is just that in my research of how the red panda and the dragon work together, or when somebody is unbalanced internally, how they work against each other, it is very reminiscent of that I guess dichotomy, I don't know, the two sides of the coin, I guess, of a princess versus a knight and versus a dragon. Because the red panda is very soft and gentle, and the aspects of that so often are like the not the negatives, the unbalanced aspects of a red panda so often are to recoil, to quiet themselves, to almost become numb to things, and just more passive. And the dragon, when they are unbalanced, tends to be very rigid, very matter of fact, very just, I guess, very opposing, and like, how do I get things done? How do I get things done in a big way? How do I be aggressive even with my words? They can be very bold. And those two, when they're both unbalanced, oftentimes, and sometimes one of them can be taking the forefront where the other one is taking the back seat. Which is also very interesting. But when they're both unbalanced at the same time and they're both trying to take the front seat, it is oftentimes this battle of do I step forward? Do I not step forward? Is this the time for me to do something big and burst out of my shell? Or do I need to spend more time in introspection? Have I not processed enough? Do I need to eat more bamboo? You know, like, it's that back and forth. And I do tend to go through that back and forth a lot of the times if I am very unbalanced. That yin and yang between, like, I guess just overcorrecting myself and being like either bold or passive. Which step do I take? And always trying to do the next big thing, but have I not processed enough? Do I need to sift through a little bit more? And, you know, oftentimes when we look at this princess, right? When we look at this depiction of princess, we think weak, right? We think quite passive. We think, you know, whether these are true or not, I'm just talking about stereotypes in media, right? We think quite frilly, quite fancy, quite lavish, but quite weak, she can't do anything on her own, right? Like, she just, I don't know, you know, that type of thing. And then when we think of the knight, we think kind of gritty, you know, a little bit. I mean, he has to slay an entire dragon just to get this princess. And, you know, he's a fighter. He knows how to fight. He's skilled in fighting. He's prepared for fighting this dragon. And there's something about that. And to me, internally, when I feel all of these within me, when I feel the knight and the princess and the dragon, I don't look at them as fighting in my own spirit. I look at them as all the same person. All the same. The princess turns into the dragon, which turns into the knight. And, you know, there might be some internal battle, but they all exist in the same world. And they all speak kind of the same language. It's all one to me. That's how I've been kind of viewing it lately. And maybe that's different for you. Maybe you really do look at it more as this battle between the three. But I don't really look at it that way. I don't feel that within me. I feel like an interest between them. And I love imagery of princesses with knight armor on. You know what I mean? It's so cool. Lady knights. Oh, I've been super into lady knights. And like a very intricate swords. Oh, come on. And the imagery of like knights laying in fields of flowers. You know what I mean? Because it's just like the contrast of hard metal plus delicate flowers. Like, it's just so, I eat it up. And gold, I've been so obsessed with gold. Never before have I seen gold in this light, and I love it all. I just think this is like kind of interesting, because I think similarly we look at princesses as that delicateness, and we look, you know, at dragons as this harshness, this fighter, this ruggedness, you know, this, I mean, not super rugged in the sense of I mean, they're still, like, when I picture knight's armor, I always picture it kind of clean. Anybody else? I don't know why. And when I imagine a dragon, I imagine the pretty scale. So it's kind of, there's some glamour to it, but they're tough, you know? They were born and built and trained to be what they are. I don't know. I've been feeling that a lot. And it's also so interesting because, one of the other things that I've talked about in my other video is just, over the past, I don't even know, I guess like 6 years now, I've been also learning this new ruggedness about me, or this, maybe rugged's not the right word, but this like appreciation for that side of me. And just before that, I was learning to appreciate this delicate side of me. And I think what was missing from that is like, I rejected this harshness. I rejected the harshness. And they can both exist on the same plane, you know? And I think that is what I've been learning within these recent years, is that, there can be a harshness and a softness within me that swim around and they work together. They don't have to be opposing features. And when we think of dragons in total, right, they are themselves the dichotomy of that. If you really look at a dragon, because they are you know, they can literally have the power of fire within them to scorch, unmatched, by the way, unmatched. I mean, a dragon, especially since it's mythical, it can be any size you want it to be. It can be small, it can be ginormous, it can be a monstrosity. So it's like, and it wields and has magic, and there's also water dragons too. Water dragons versus the fire dragons, and it's like, there's earth dragons, there's all sorts of different types, you know? There's ones that live in dungeons, there's ones that live in the water. Ones that, you know, there's depictions of them not just living in the dungeon, but in the castle in general. And then, you know, that's the harshness of them. They got those scales, and they can take a puncture wound, and even some imageries show them healing rapidly, and they seem undefeatable, you know? But then at the same time, you see these other imagery, you know, this other imagery that is connected to the dragon, which is this life of lavishness, this cushy kind of comfortable life. There are some images that show, you know, dragons living this rough life in a cage, or not in the cage, in a cave, or in the dungeon, and they're alone, and it's this sort of dark imagery. But there's also so much of it that is living in a castle, living the life of luxury, having their meals probably cooked to them by the chef, you know. It could be, you know, giant roasts that they're just tossing in the what is it, the dungeon for them. You know, and they're down there, they're getting fed well. I mean, they're a dragon. To keep that thing alive and well, to protect the princess, it's got to be fed well, okay? Those chefs are working overtime. They're not just working overtime for the princess, they're working overtime for the dragon. And not to mention that he's also probably getting a little snack here and there from the knights in shining armor every once in a while. You know, any trespassers, I'm sure that's a little snack for him. But, and he's also surrounded by trinkets. He's surrounded by the gold of the palace. He's surrounded by the riches. He is the sole protector of the riches. And he gets to live in this lavish palace. There are elements of the dragon that are quite cushy and lavish, and quite, there's a finer things aspect to the dragon, you know? And both of those things can exist at once. Both of those things can exist together in the same universe. You know? There's also potentially a soft quality to the dragon, because, I mean, often imagery also shows that the dragon has very fond feelings about the princess that he's protecting. He wants to protect her, or he is a protector, often showing that he's almost like not necessarily a pet, but sort of cohabitator in a way with the princess. So there's like a lot of this like play with delicateness versus roughness, and I just think that really mirrors the lessons that I've been learning over the past maybe even decade or so, to learning to love that delicate side of me. That took a long time. But then also learning to love and embrace the ruggedness of me, or the I don't know, and even transform that part of me that can stand up for myself. And even what does that look like, being self-reliant. That's also a huge lesson that I have been learning, that I can have both. I can be the princess, but I can also be self-reliant. And yeah, those are some of the teachings that I think the princess and the knight and the dragon all work together to sort of vocalize in a way that you can be your own protector with that sword, and yeah. Hope you enjoyed.